Guys, this RSX absolutely freaking rips, and we have a huge announcement at the end of the video, as well as a banger video. Like it and enjoy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In the last video, we left you with a little bit of a teaser. This thing driving down the road, and we were gonna rip it, but we had a couple issues. The alignment was terrible. I guess it's kind of a known issue that the tie rod ends, like it brings the pickup points closer in. So even if you bring the alignment all the way in, you still have a ton of toe out. So like the front alignment was like this, the rear was like that and like completely sagging, and driving it down the road felt terrible. We ran out of time. We wanted to give you guys a good video, and I think we did. A lot of you guys liked it. We asked you to answer a survey, and we got like 400 responses within the first like 5 hours. So I really appreciate all that feedback. But if you guys did not have a chance to answer that survey, link will be in the description. Right now, we're just kind of buttoning up the RSX. You can see in the front, this little piece of trim, we never painted that. We were gonna get to it later, and then now it's time. Also, we have some stuff for the interior. In this video, we want to take this thing for a rip. We might end up running into a Lamborghini. And if we run into a Lamborghini on the street and we're like, hey, do you want to race for $100? And they say, no, I'm scared. You know why? Because you're in a turbo Honda, you don't have any interior, you don't have AC, you don't have power steering, cruise control, Bluetooth, a subwoofer, power windows, all this other stuff. And I'll say, you know what? Actually, I have a full interior. I have AC, I have heat, I have power steering, I have Bluetooth, I have a backup camera, I have a subwoofer. We're the same. If I show up and I race a Lamborghini in a race car, they're gonna say it doesn't count because you don't have heated seats. And I say, well, maybe I don't have heated seats, but I have everything else. So we're gonna put the interior back together. Maybe put this thing on the dyno. Let's get to work. You know what these earplugs are for right here? These are for when you're racing a Lamborghini and you're tired of hearing them fucking cry. I don't want to hear you anymore, fucking baby. I don't want to.
Oh my God, there's deer. There's deer in the road.
I'm glad he didn't go full send.
That was wild.
Jesus.
Boost controller on this thing because 6 pounds ain't gonna rip. Transmission shifts good, clutch feels good, steering, the chassis feels good overall. That means that we're pretty good to stick it on the dyno now. wastegate spring in it. This is the wastegate that we had on the Mustang when we were trying to control the boost. So I think it was like 6 pounds in there, and I think it's less now. It's pretty low. I think we're hitting about 4 pounds.
Wow. That's
4 pounds of boost right now.
How does it feel?
Slow? like it feels good, but like it doesn't feel good, you know? Like it needs, we're like barely in the efficiency range of this. We're not even in the efficiency range of this turbo. It needs like probably 15 to 20 to be like screaming, you know? We got some data though. I mean, it sounds really loud.
How does it feel driving? To drive straight?
No, it drives decent. Like feels maybe a little bit like, it definitely needs an alignment. Like we need to put it on the alignment dyno rack. I wonder if we should try to put a bigger spring in the wastegate, because we're just gonna fight that.
Yeah.
If we don't, like especially with this thing being all-wheel drive, we don't ever need to run 4 pounds. Like if anything, we need to run a lot of boost all the time because we're all-wheel drive, or shortly we'll be all-wheel drive. So I wonder if maybe we should stick another wastegate spring in it.
Maybe do it on the dyno though, right?
We could, yeah. After an alignment and cool it down. Yeah, I'll pull it on the dyno and we'll go from there. Car's been such a fight. Like everything with the paint and bodywork went smooth because it was just in the background. We were working on it. Everything was fine. And then now when it came time to like this thing running, I thought it was gonna be running literally 3 freaking weeks ago. Like I thought we were gonna be running, driving, ripping 3 weeks ago, and here we are. Like we've been working on it. Like we haven't not worked on it, and now we're finally at the dyno. So I wonder if we should almost do a pull on it tonight on 4 pounds.
Let it cool off.
And then
in the morning,
just come back tomorrow and do that. Yeah, so that way we get a little bit more of that data.
I like that idea, buddy.
6 pounds of boost, she made 322 horsepower. Not bad considering that this thing stock made 180, 190. And then so only adding 6 pounds of boost, we gained a little over 130 horsepower for 6 pounds of boost. That's pretty good. That's like 20 pounds per pound. And again, this thing's not even in its efficiency rating. If you double the atmospheric pressure, let's say here in Colorado, we're at 12 pounds. If we go to 12 pounds of boost on top of that, then you would double the power. So we'd almost be about 400. So we're doing that. We're doing good. I mean, that's pretty good for 6 pounds of boost. So now I'm just going through the tune, looking at the log, looking at the air-fuel ratio. Timing is set pretty conservative right now, and we're only at 6 pounds. So we're at like 18, 19 degrees of timing. Mostly what I'm looking at right now is just the air-fuel ratio, making sure that all that stuff is good and following my target. All we really wanted to do tonight was just kind of shake off the car, see how it did, make sure that we didn't have to do anything crazy for tomorrow. It's all strapped down, has a 6 pound wastegate spring, so we're gonna let it cool down overnight. Come back in the morning, stick maybe a 10, 15 pound one in it, along with an electronic boost controller, and start turning the boost up on this thing. All right, so it is the next morning, and we went ahead and installed a bigger spring, well, 2 springs in the wastegate. So I think we're about 13 PSI, and the other thing that I'm doing is installing this little 3-port Mac valve boost controller, figuring out the wire that actually goes into the ECU. There's an additional little bitty guy right there. I have a needle poked into it. This running over here to my multimeter, and I'm just doing a continuity test to double check and make sure what wire goes to what thing. And I think we figured it out. Check it out. Listen to this. Found the wire. That is actually like a solenoid from the factory. Probably some emissions or some maybe a little vacuum thing. I almost feel like we could use that as a boost controller if we really wanted to. For now, we're just gonna go ahead and use that plug. We're gonna hook it up to this Mac valve since we know like the frequency settings, we know that they work. And then we're actually gonna run a wastegate line to the top of the wastegate. So that way we could run 13 pounds if we want to, but also if we wanna crank that freaking thing up to 26 pounds, just gotta hit a little duty cycle with it and go from there. That solenoid plug already has 12 volts. The only thing we really need to do is give it a ground from the ECU on an auxiliary output, and then we'll just pulse that ground. It'll add a little bit of boost to the top of the wastegate, holding it down longer, or holding it down, which means that then we make more boost. More boost, it's more power. All right, boys, so boost controller is installed. We have all the wastegate lines and everything routed correctly. The next thing that we have right here is this BTI gauge. I freaking love these things. I don't know why anybody who has a standalone ECU would buy any gauge at all. Like literally run the wideband to the ECU, let the ECU control the wideband. Maybe have a wideband gauge in there, maybe like a boost gauge if you want to look at it. But this thing literally does everything. Look at it. So right here, we have air fuel, boost, fuel correction, boost target. You have your coolant temp, your fuel pressure, your oil pressure, your intake air temp, ethanol content, and your revs right there at the top. Then if you want to go right here, you could go to the CAN output section. So you could put your boost controller right there, nitrous flat foot shift, launch control, ABS, so your traction control. Or let's say you're pulling up next to a Lamborghini, you want to do a roll race on the highway, anti-lag, this is rolling anti-lag. So you just hold the button. Let's say, for example, you're doing 55 miles an hour. You hold that button, you roll up, you go, give it throttle, and then based upon your throttle percentage is like how aggressive the anti-lag gets. So instead of like brake boosting, you could literally hold that. It'll kind of hold the car at that same RPM, but just build boost. As soon as you let off of it, it's like a freaking explosion. We did that before, and we sent the rods out of a stock K20. That's why we put pistons and rods in this one. Last night we made 6 pounds of boost. Today we have 13-pound wastegate spring. I'm just getting some stuff set up with the boost controller, like the duty cycles and stuff like that, tying it actually to the CAN gauge to where we can sit here and say, okay, 0 is wastegate, so it'll be 13 pounds. And if we want to go to like number 6 or something like that, we could have like 20 some pounds of boost. So just kind of setting up some things, do some bulls. We got the CAN gauge all installed right there. Right now it's just customized with some zip ties. I actually ordered a 52mm gauge pod, but it just didn't come in yet, and I didn't want this thing like flopping around the car, especially if we're out doing some rips. I have the boost stuff set up already in the thing, so we go right here, bam, bam, bam. Oh, look at that, 5 pounds, 6 pounds. That's how much boost it's gonna add. Yeah, that's it. So now pretty much all we gotta do is stick this thing back in there, and then it's pretty much ready for dyno pulls. That was the attempt at the first pull, and we had some sort of a fuel cut, so I'm just looking at the log right now to see. So all that was my boost cut. I had it set pretty low just in case like we're on the street or anything. Had it set at like 32 pounds, which means that we were actually almost making 20 pounds of boost at that point. She was ripping. I turned the controller down a little bit, so make sure everything is good. Last couple pulls, like we kind of rolled into it pretty good, but it seems like it hits 20 pounds right away. Like I'm almost wanting, we have 13-pound spring. I have the boost controller set at pretty much 0, and it's going to 20. Like that's the minimum it wants to make. And right there at that 20 mark, it's just not that happy. So kind of having a little bit of a breakup, but I'm trying to see if there's like a cut. It feels like a cut or some sort of like a safety thing. It doesn't feel like everything's super safe. Like the air fuel isn't like tracking right along line, like the ignition is super soft, like nothing is, and it's not too soft either. It's not like it's like backfiring or two-stepping or anything like that. So I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I'm gonna go through the log and see if I see anything weird. There's also a way in the log where you can see like fuel cuts or any other like safety stuff that's turning on. As far as I can see, nothing's doing anything crazy. I don't know why it's doing that. So I think I want to blame that spark blowout. I think it pretty much sounds like spark blowout. Everything in the data log is mint. Nothing's wrong, but look at these coil packs. They got the big D on them. So I think the Big D is actually giving me the Big D right now. I wonder how much these things cost. I bet if I get on the internet and I see how many dollars they cost, it'll be less than they should be.
Yeah?
I think so.
You sure about that?
You sure about that? Pounds. We kept going. We didn't change the wastegate spring. It's too much. Did you put the lines on it with zip ties before we put it back there?
Go ahead, yank on them.
Fuck, actually,
yank, Charles.
that's too loose. See that?
No, it's not.
I clicked it with my hand.
I didn't hear nothing.
I told you I was gonna teach you how to
I
do
pulled it with
and then here you are.
the grips.
Not doing it. I told Eric he's gonna go home and tell his wife that he owes me money now. Says all the things. All right, you need some help. So we went ahead and put in some fresh spark plugs, actually gapped them down, and didn't have an issue with the old spark plugs. They were just gapped to like the OEM gap. So we went ahead and cut that gap in about half, about 18 thousandths. And so that last pull, super clean, but it hit 25 pounds. And I said, that is way too much. We don't want that as the base spring pressure. So we went ahead and put some different springs in it. And now we're hooking everything back up. I disconnected the boost controller because I don't know, it shouldn't have had a 25-pound spring in it. So I disconnected the boost controller completely. And now we're gonna see what it does. We should be on like 12, 13 pounds, somewhere in there. And then from there, we'll go up with it. And it made 390. That's pretty good. Obviously that was with no boost controller, nothing turned on. I don't know what was up with it. I think that boost controller, we stole it off of the Evo. It was set up differently, like the 1, 2, and the 3. There's like one that's supposed to bleed. On the Evo, it was like 2 and 3 with the thing, and it was bleeding off at 2. Normally how I set them all up is it like 1 is boost, 2 goes to the top of the wastegate, and it bleeds off of 3. So I think just something was set up with that, and it was literally just like putting a lot of boost at the top of the wastegate and holding it down. It holds 7 pounds solid. I would like to turn it up a little bit, but I want to double check the wastegate, the boost controller essentially set up on it to see why it was even doing that. There's something wrong with this boost controller. It's not pulsing correctly, and it seems like it's fine like most of the way through the pull, and then all of a sudden it's just like it gets mad. So we went ahead and we went back old school, threw a Hallman boost controller on here because we want to run more than 7 pounds but less than 25, and we should be able to do that. I have a new one actually on its way, so that should be here tomorrow or the next day. The goal for this thing is to make 600 horsepower, and it should do that pretty easily. But right now we should be able to add a little bit more boost with that thing, maybe get to like 14 pounds. I want to go drive it on the street, see how it is. Just made 562 on 19 pounds of boost. We pretty much knew that if it made 20 some pounds, that it would make right at 600. So we're at like 18, 19. Everything looks good in the data log. It felt super good, super crisp. With the other boost controller, we should be able to get the turbo to come on a little bit sooner. Should we try for 600? Let it cool down for a second. Just go give it another twist of the boost controller. I think like all it needs is 2 or 3 pounds, and it'll be up there. So this thing just made 579 horsepower, 440 foot-pounds of torque, and that was literally just a 1 pound of boost increase and leaning out the fuel mixture just a smidge. So coming over here to the ECU master, we'll kind of cruise through the log. I kind of have the little auto tune set up right here. You do a pull, and it essentially tells you right here kind of what your suggested VE should be based upon your target air-fuel ratio. So you set up a target air-fuel ratio and it gives you an estimate or of whatever you need to do, a percentage to get to your target VE. It shows 35 PSI on here. Atmospheric at this elevation is 12.8. So we minus 12.8 from 35. That is the absolute pressure that the map sensor is seeing, because there's pressure in the atmosphere. You know, normally at sea level it's 14.7. Up here in Colorado we're 12.8. So we're essentially like down 2 pounds of boost just being up here in Colorado, just naturally aspirated. But then you add a turbo car to that, obviously it adds boost to that. Absolute pressure is 35 pounds minus the 12.8 of atmospheric pressure here, or even if you minus sea level pressure, which would be 14 pounds of boost, now we're basically right at 21 pounds of boost, somewhere in there. 579 on essentially 21 pounds of boost. We're on 1500 cc injectors. Again, this thing is basically a piston and rod engine. Everything else is stock. Works out really good. Garrett 3582 with a 0.82 V-band exhaust housing. The boost control on this thing was super good. With the RTEC manifold, you could see as soon as it came up on boost, so you can see that blue line, that is our boost pressure. So as it comes up on boost right there, RPM goes up, that is our boost. So holding super steady, super solid all the way across the board. We are revving this thing out to 8,400 RPM. So stoked to have a dyno. Like, it's just so cool to not have to do this on the street. It's nice to do it in a controlled environment. You could raise the boost. You could literally let out of it as soon as you see something going wrong, other than like, you know, it goes lean and you're like trying to stay out of the ditch or something like that. So it's really cool. It's definitely not fun to push a car on the street. Well, it is once it's tuned and you don't have to be looking at gauges and stuff. We're gonna go ahead and pull this thing off, kind of play with the alignment just a little bit right here in the back, make sure this is good, and then we're gonna go shoot some videos on the street and see how this thing feels. The drive shaft in this thing.
So this doesn't have an LSD, so it is all over the place.
It's weird that it's doing it that bad. Like my yellow car with it set up in front wheel drive, it would leave 2 burnouts. This one, it's just like one wheel is just like doing it bad.
And it's both 5-speed, same trans.
So peak, that was 21 pounds.
Jeez.
Maybe it's just violent, just torque steers. Like front wheel drive is 600 horsepower. Front wheel drive is not. I don't know. It's dope, but it's like more work than it's worth.
Like that was sketchy. Yeah. Like this thing can make a lot more power than that. That 600 front wheel drive is definitely too much. Like if you were gonna do like a boost by gear, you probably couldn't have 20 pounds come in until 4th gear.
Even then, 4th was walking all over the place.
Did you see the marks down the road? It was literally doing a burnout in 4th, which is freaking crazy, which is exactly why we're gonna put the drive shaft in this thing. So the draggy, we got some numbers. So the very first run that we did in this thing naturally aspirated was 17.67 in the quarter mile on the street. Obviously spun a little bit, whatever. With this one, spun a lot, 14.3 on the draggy. Wow. So we made an improvement of a little over, what was that, 3.4 seconds or whatever, and it was spinning like crazy. I can't wait to see what this thing will do all-wheel drive on the street with traction, with the launch control, with a no-lift shift setup on it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. You always wanted, what's the fastest car you've been in?
Mustang. Stock.
Oh, stock Mustang, nice.
Well, no, I mean, like, you did a little pull on the, we didn't really do a quarter mile, though.
Buddy, do you think you left some tracks out here? Because I heard you spinning all the way through 4th. Like, that was ridiculous.
I initially thought it was one wheel peeling, but I'm pretty sure I see 2 marks. Look at this.
Yeah, so you are right here.
That's 2 black marks in the middle of the road, and that is freaking 4th gear. I think it's the alignment. Honestly, it's still towed in a little bit, so I think it's literally just fighting. It's like fighting itself. This thing is freaking, I can't wait to put the drive shaft in it. Guys, this car is crazy, and I feel like I'm a little crazy because we are actually giving away this thing. This is Project Build giveaway number 14. 600 horsepower, all-wheel drive, built engine, Garrett Turbo, D-Works fuel system, coilovers, custom fuel cell, fully custom paint job, and it could be yours. If you head over to MotionAutoTv.com right now, it is our shortest giveaway ever, now until the end of October, which means if you're watching this video right now, there is less than 9 days to enter for a chance to win that car. Also, I would say the biggest thing right now is our VIP program. I feel like those guys are absolutely cheating. They get double entries and an insane amount of bonus entries. If you guys have too much merch, we have a bunch of digital downloads. We also have some new RSX t-shirts and designs like that. Also, we have over 200,000 parts on Motion Auto Performance. A lot of them are actually featured on this car, but if you get on there and type in your year, make, model, anything purchased on either one of the websites until the end of October, to enter to win this car plus $3,000 cash. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Let me know what you think. See you in the next one.